We know it's never easy to temper expectations when the next potential franchise quarterback takes the field. But let's discuss what history has shown us at the QB position. OGP next. OGP One Giant Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Armbrecht. Looking forward to the debut for Jaxson Dart. If you were over on YouTube, you saw the live, the breakdown, the discussion. And as we'll continue forward here, you can go over and get full stat breakdowns of rookie quarterbacks over the course of their careers, what it looked like when they started, maybe how it evolved over time. But the number one that we're going to discuss today is going to be how Eli Manning looked in his rookie campaign and whether or not we believe that Jaxson Dart can exceed those expectations. Remember, Eli Manning came in his rookie year when the Giants were 5-4, had Kurt Warner, and certainly were a team that could have been in the playoff wild card kind of discussion. But once you draft your rookie QB, and who you believe is a franchise QB, you know that it is a ticking clock about when do you start to get him in. Now, what I find interesting is if we go back and think about it, remember, 2004 when he comes in, it's not great, right? Plays 7 games, plays in 9, starts 7 games, goes 1-6, 95 of 197, 48.2% completion percentage, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And as we know, gets that first win at the end against the Dallas Cowboys to close out the year and sends everyone, the organization, the fan base, right, all into an off season feeling excited about the future. A rating pre-QBR of 55.4. But what you love about it is he comes right back that next year. The team over the next 4 seasons, frankly, and we know we have a Super Bowl mixed in there, but 11-5, 8-8, 10-6, 12-4. So what are the expectations when we think about Jaxson Dart, where his game is going to be, and what we want to see? What boxes need to get checked? Let's keep it simple, stupid to start, right? Coming up against the LA Chargers, what do we look at when we see this defense? Opponent's pass play percentage, almost 67%, right? And when we know this just historically in the NFL, if you're going to be a team that has confidence, that's playing from ahead, you're going to force the opposition into passing situations. And maybe something to note here, right? Because the first thing we see is we have the 67% of plays are pass plays, but the opponent completion percentage is under 58%, 57.94. The opponent passing yards is just 5.5. That's 5th and 2nd best, respectively, in the NFL. The opposing pass plays per game is just under 36. The opposing pass yards per game is just 182. That's 9th. Opponent's interceptions thrown percentage is 2.8%. That's 10th, right? So just in those key categories, completion percentage, they're 5th. Opponent's passing yards per play, 2nd. Opponent's total passing yards per game, 9th. Interception percentage, 10th. These are categories that any QB, let alone a rookie QB, is potentially going to struggle against. Here's the other side of it, right? Because the reality we have to live in is that the Giants are maybe going to come out in these games over the remainder of the season and say, you expect it to grow over the course of it, but we're not going to force Jaxson Dart when we're down, 20-10 in the 4th quarter to start bombing it out like we saw Russell Wilson do at the end of week 3, recklessly. I think they'll be a little bit more controlled about it. Doesn't mean you're not going to take chances. Doesn't mean you're not going to let him make mistakes, right? You're not going to have him go out there and play scared or play conservative, but I think you're going to try to, again, consistently build up positive reps for him over the course of the season. So in particular, when we talk about the Chargers matchup, remember, we know how much they force oppositions to pass. That means that they're only having rush percentage of 33%. But they do give up 5 yards per carry. That's 26th in the league. Opponents' rushes per game is just 19. You expect that. Talk about percentages. Opponents' rushing yards per game, 94.7. That's good for 9th. Opposing rushing touchdowns per game is also 9th, under 1. Now, this is where it becomes interesting / critical for the New York Football Giants, because I think you are going to get forced into situations where you're going to have to throw the ball. And I think Brian Daboll is going to try to find ways to manufacture those success opportunities, high percentage success chances for Jaxson Dart. But even though they are going to be without Tyrone Tracy Jr., Cam Skattebo showed that he can run. My belief is that Andrew Thomas, after 25 reps in week 3, is going to give you close to 100% of the reps in week 4. I believe that the Giants wanted to ensure that he was 100% healthy before going to Jaxson Dart. So they have to find a way to flip or at least narrow the gap between what the LA defense has forced opponents to do and what they need to do. And they can do that in a couple of different ways, right? You can give the rock to Skattebo. You can see some Devin Singletary. I know he's a veteran. I know Giants fans aren't elated to still see him on the roster, but that's okay. I wonder, depending on the absence of Tyrone Tracy Jr., how long that is. Do we get a little bit of Turbo Miller splashed up on to the 53-man roster? Obviously, some home run hitting playability there with him. Something you don't get necessarily with Devin Singletary. Maybe not as much with Skattebo, although he broke off that 24-yard touchdown run 2 weeks ago. But finding a way to keep that balance in play calling, that's going to matter. And again, unlike with other teams that are, trying to find ways to battle back into games, I think the Giants, I think Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, they can afford to say, yeah, it's midway through the third quarter. We're trailing by 2 scores. Yes, we want to be successful. Yes, we want to get back in this game, but we don't have to get away from a game script. Like, we can basically say, this is how we want to approach Jaxson Dart's start, and we're not going to throw the ball 7 consecutive plays at the end of the third quarter into the fourth because we need to get back on the scoreboard. We'll stay consistent. And in that, maybe you'll actually be able to expose the 5 yards per rush attempt that they have given up. That's interesting to me. Other areas that we can look at here as well. Chargers give up under 17 points a game. It's 4th, as you would expect. Total yardage, 276, 8th. Opponents' points per play is under 0.3. I mean, that's a weird stat, but, who cares? Yards per play is under 5. That's 9th. Third down conversion percentage is just 35.5%, 11th. Fourth down conversion is actually 71%. So, sometimes what that ends up being is what? You are really good at stopping teams on third downs, but maybe they're pretty close, and they end up going for it on fourth down. So a high conversion percentage there. How about this, though? It's a place that the Giants have struggled. Opponents' red zone scoring percentage, 25% for touchdowns. That's first. Opponents' touchdowns per game, also first, right? So we know the world we're living in here. This is a tough matchup. But it also means you can flip the script and look at the Saints game and say, what will we learn here and how will we improve it as we work our way forward? So there's a path here. I think it does matter the run play. I think it matters that Skattebo looks strong, that Devin Singletary gives you that. By the way, also that Jaxson Dart gives you those opportunities because RPO and his legs, that's a different dynamic than you have with Russell Wilson. Furthermore, how do you, coming off of week 3, where it took until the 4th quarter for your number 1 wide receiver, who was in the conversation for being one of the best receivers in the league, top 5, easily, in my opinion. He doesn't get those touches. So jet sweeps, end arounds, these RPOs, these quick passes, I think you're going to see a lot of that from Jaxson Dart and from this offense early in these games. And then how do you use that in the way that we saw him with design runs and design handoffs in the 4 or 5 plays that were sprinkled in over the first 3 games? How do you use that? And the thing you haven't exposed to the other team, the pass plays, right? Who's it going to be? I think early on, getting the ball into Malik Nabers' hands is going to matter. Getting the ball into Wan'Dale Robinson's hands is going to matter. I think that the Chargers are going to crowd and try to stuff the run and force Jaxson Dart to have to drop back and make those plays with his arm and look downfield. Darius Slayton is low-key interesting to me because if you run the RPO and everyone is sucked in and he has the one-on-one, a couple early successes to him are going to then open up everything. And obviously, you say that about Malik Nabers. Obviously, you say it about Wan'Dale Robinson. But we saw this last week. Darius Slayton still had a couple of catches and still helped move the chains a couple of times because the defensive focus is going to be on so many other spaces first and then him second. I think the tight end group is very interesting here too. Again, crowding the line. We're going to see a lot of man hurts. Are we going to see 2 tight end sets to help protection? Or is Brian Daboll going to be bold and go ahead and try to find unique ways, Kafka, play caller, unique ways to script success for this offense? Will they be successful or not? That's TBD. But I don't want to see timid play calling as in bashing your head into a 93-man front on the defensive side of the football, knowing that you're going to be in a second and long and a third and long, and then you're going to have, put yourself in bad spots, right? So try to be creative, try to be dynamic. I'm very curious about how much of a game script has been developed over the course of the offseason for this moment, for Jaxson Dart to come out looking successful early in his career under center. We'll have more, plenty more. You want to go look at the rookie debuts for NFL quarterbacks over the last 10 years? Head over to Substack. That's the article that'll be up there. We'll also have, as I said, our Sunday conversation on game day with Andy, breaking it all down, setting expectations, and more. So much more. So subscribe everywhere that you get us. We're back again next time talking all things New York Football Giants as we set the table for the next era of Big Blue football. Jaxson Dart, franchise QB, making a start.